this press conference with a thank you to John Fox.
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice, man.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
You're listening to Rochester, Indiana's #1 podcast, the Tan and J-Man Show, featuring Josh Munt and Tanner Lee.
You're listening to episode 111 of Rochester's #1 podcast, the Tan and J-Man Show, the last podcast of 2018. And my co-host, Josh the J-Man Munt, is back live in the studio. J-Man, we missed you last week.
The J-Man is back.
Some of our ratings went up with you gone.
Probably tripled, I would say.
They were pretty high. But how you doing, J-Man? Did you have a good Christmas?
Had a good Christmas. You had a good Christmas?
Yeah, Santa Claus bring you everything you wanted?
Yes, and I ate a lot of food. Probably gained about 15 pounds. So you know what? I'm going to start this New Year's off right with starting my diet on January 2nd.
I like
it. Not the 1st, because I'll be eating a lot tomorrow, too.
I like it. Santa brought me my Christmas present late. He brought it today in the firing of Vance Joseph.
Yes, sir.
But we'll get into that and all the rest of the job openings and firings that happened on the Monday after the NFL regular season ends, which is called Black Monday. But this episode is brought to you by, like every episode of the Tan and J-Man Show has been in 2018, by Fraunfelder Dental Clinic, a great family-owned dental clinic that offers laser whitening and dentistry, along with braces, implants, and your typical teeth cleanings. Go see Dr. Bill or Dr. DJ Fraunfelder today for all your dental needs. Like them on Facebook and check out their website, staytheartsmile.com. Your smile of tomorrow is their concern today. So go check them out, and we're happy to announce they'll be back as the sponsors of the Tan and J-Man Show in 2019.
Transitioning to Birdie, Bogey. Saquon Barkley became the third rookie in NFL history to record 2,000 yards from scrimmage. Who were the other two?
Ooh, 2,000 yards from scrimmage from a rookie.
From a rookie. He became the third one ever.
Ooh, I'm going to have to think about that. That's a tough one. That's a real tough one. And the Birdie Bogey is brought to you by Noble Gnome LLC, a locally owned organic market garden, I guess you could say, by my cousin Bryce Romine and his wife Katie Romine. He's got some greenhouses going up right now in his backyard. A lot of exciting things going on for the Noble Gnome in 2019. So make sure you like them on Facebook and follow them on Instagram if you haven't already. They are on board to be the sponsors of the Birdie Bogey also for 2019. So we appreciate that. And if anybody does want to be a part of our show by sponsorship or anything, just get a hold of Josh and I via social media or text message or whatever, and we'll make it happen. It's a cheap, affordable way to get your name out there.
Yes, sir.
Well, Josh, before we do a little year in review, I thought I'd educate you about some events that have happened on this day in sports history.
I need a lot of educating on a lot of things.
You do.
Hit
you
me
do.
up.
Let's see here. On this day, it doesn't look like we have that great of events today, but
mainly just bowl games, I imagine, happened on this day.
Yeah, on this day in 1961, the Green Bay Packers shut out the New York Football Giants 37-0 in the NFL Championship.
What year was that?
1961. On this day in 1967, the first NBA game at the Great Western Forum saw the LA Lakers defeat the Houston. I don't know if they were the Rockets back then or not, 147-118. This day in 1967, the Ice Bowl was played between the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. The Packers beat the Cowboys 21-17 in the NFL Championship game in -13 below Fahrenheit temperatures.
You couldn't pay me enough to go to that game.
Pretty cold. On this day in 1972, the AFC Championship game saw the Miami Dolphins defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers by a score of 21-7. A lot of bowl games. I don't really care to talk about those, but on this day in 1974, the New York Yankees signed Jim Catfish Hunter for 5 years for a record $3.75 million.
Over 5 years?
Yeah. That's just went up a little bit.
It's a little bit.
A little bit since then. Let's see, what else do we got here? And on this day last year, the Cleveland Browns crashed crashed to a 28-24 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers at Heinz Field to become only the second team in NFL history to finish the season 0-16. Detroit Lions were the other team.
I want to say that was an overtime game.
Doesn't say it on here, but
it seems like
it
Cleveland
wouldn't be an overtime 4-point game.
Well, if Cleveland kicked a field goal and they went down and had a long touchdown, so
Could have been.
Technically, it could have been.
Cleveland was trying to save Pittsburgh's season yesterday, but
They almost did it.
they almost did it.
They're going to be a problem.
Oh, we'll get to talking about them here in a little bit when we talk about Black Monday, but let's talk about the year as a whole in review for sports in 2018. What things stood out to you? What were some of the big headlines, maybe about your own teams, just national stories? I mean, looking back, it's kind of hard to think. But
I had 2 weeks to prepare for this podcast, and I'm drawing a blank. Obviously, probably the biggest story involving at least the NFL, Nick Foles beating the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. I don't think that was probably one of the more unlikely Super Bowl victories I can remember just from who was quarterbacking and the team they were playing. That one really stood out.
let's see if he can do it again this year.
Yeah. Have they said anything about Carson Wentz?
He's out.
He is out for the
out.
season? Okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting. As for the other sports, Tigers return to playing really good golf.
He's got to be one of the intriguing things to watch in 2019. Right. Tiger. Also, the other championship games, Tua in his heroics, Alabama against Georgia. When Jalen Hurts goes out with an injury, Tua stepped in and made a name for himself, carried over to this year.
Of course, a 16 beating a 1 in the NCAA tournament.
I honestly forgot about that.
Loyola making a Cinderella run to the Final Four.
And Villanova win their second championship in 3 years. Then, golf, you saw Patrick Reed win the Masters. You saw Brooks Koepka win 2 majors. Tiger, like you said, contend in a lot of them. Win a tournament, the Tour Championship himself, and then the Ryder Cup, the Europeans dominated the Americans again. Baseball, we saw the Red Sox return to championship form.
They do it about every 5 years now, it feels like.
Yeah, they really do. Hockey, saw the Penguins, I believe they won it last year.
I couldn't have told you that.
NFL shaping up to be an exciting finish. We got Clemson, Alabama again. Alabama's 4th straight trip to the title game coming up here next week.
Old.
It is getting a little old, but I don't see anything stopping that anytime soon. But what other? I'm sure there's some other stuff that's happened that I can't.
Notre Dame making the playoff and then getting absolutely waxed by Clemson. Does that hurt their case going forward if it stays at 4 teams, which I don't think it will? As for getting in as an at-large just because without winning a conference tournament.
It's not going to happen, but I've thought for a long time they should join a conference, and I think this shows that even more because now if they are up undefeated against a 1-loss Ohio State or a 1-loss Georgia, I don't think Notre Dame gets in.
I don't either.
That's just my personal opinion. I know they got the national brand, they got NBC, everything like that, but look at their track record. Since 1998, they've got blown out in every BCS Bowl or New Year's Six Bowl or playoff game. Hasn't been good.
No.
And Clemson just showed there was a talent level differential pretty big time between Clemson and Notre Dame.
And that freshman quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, is going to be QB1 in 2 years.
Yeah, I wish he could be eligible next year in the 2020 draft,
kidding.
but you got to wait till 2021.
I saw one scouting guy said he could end up being an even better prospect than Andrew Luck was coming out.
That's saying something because Luck was as high as anybody since Peyton Manning coming out. But what was your most memorable sports moment in 2018?
As for my teams, it didn't really end well for any of them. The Cubs were obviously the best one, winning 95 games, and they just fizzled out in September. But most memorable, I think, and I don't know if you remember this, but I was sitting at your house watching – I think it was the Friday night round of 64 games, and I said to you, watch out for UMBC giving Virginia a game. And I was just kind of said it to be funny. Then they end up going and beating them. So that really stands out. And another one, obviously, as I said, Loyola making a run to the Final Four. I think those are really 2 because I love college basketball. Nothing really big happened in college football. The NFL, Foles winning a Super Bowl, which is incredible, but we already kind of talked about that. So those are really the things that kind of were the most memorable to me.
Mine was definitely Purdue knocking off number 2 Ohio State. being there live, and everything. That was incredible. Tying the Tyler Trent story. And that kind of made Purdue known this year nationally. I mean, they ended up only going 6-6 and actually 6-7 after getting doors blown off by Auburn, which we'll talk about later on in the podcast, or I will a little bit. But just everything that needed to go right went right that night, and it was just a really cool moment. Definitely my favorite sports moment I've ever been to live, and that was awesome. We had two people answer this question on Twitter. Valsasaurus of the Rochester Sentinel said Kelsey Tyler making state in the 3,200 meters in track. That was pretty cool. Our track and cross country programs here at Rochester High School are two programs that probably don't get as much notoriety as they deserve. Scott Stahlbaum's done a great job with the cross country program, especially, and we have a lot of young guys and gals that do really well and make and qualify for the state, every so often. So congratulations to Kelsey Tyler once again on that feat. That was something incredible that she accomplished this year. And Cameron Screeton mentioned that Bodie's Grand Slam against the Nationals was his favorite moment.
Yeah, that kind of stands out too. I was just kind of thinking more of a championship moment. But as for the Cubs regular season, that was definitely number one. Another one that kind of went by the wayside because they ended up losing the game was Anthony Rizzo hitting a 2-run bomb in the 8th inning off of Josh Hader to give him the lead in September. And then, of course, C.J. Edwards came in predictably and blew the game. They ended up losing. But that's another one that is kind of not well known because they didn't win the game. But
another one I kind of forgot about, it was last year, and it was 2017 and 18 kind of mixed in together, was Purdue's 20-game win streak in basketball. I think it was 20, maybe.
They won 20 in a row?
Maybe it was 19. It was either 19 or 20. And the one they lost, they choked at home to Ohio State. They started it against a number 3 ranked team at the time in Arizona, and then down the battle for Atlantis, and then ran train till early February, and so that was pretty cool. But unfortunately, that team didn't have anything to show for their season. No Big Ten championship, no Big Ten tournament championship, no Final Four or anything like that. Sweet 16 berth.
I'd murder children for a Sweet 16.
Yeah, you probably would right now. I wouldn't put that out of your. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, we're just gonna move on because I can't talk. But no, 2018 has been a good year as a sports fan, and I think 2019 is going to be a really exciting year.
Here's to 2019 being better.
Yeah, I'm excited to, especially just for our teams in general, but I'm excited to see what kind of changes. As a golf fan, I'm really excited for 2019 because new rules come into play tomorrow. You can putt with the pin in. Right. That's going to be different. You can, if you hit it out of bounds, except if you're a pro, I believe. If you're an amateur, if you hit it out of bounds, you can play it like a hazard. No more going back to the tee. You don't have to drop from your shoulder anymore. You can drop clear down by your knee. Can't look for a lost ball for 5 minutes. You can only look for 3 minutes. Double hits don't count anymore. They count as one shot. So a lot of new rules you got to get used to, especially that end of flag rule is going to be really interesting. So, but let's talk about the news today. Black Monday, we've seen 7 NFL coaches lose their jobs. And really the one I was most surprised about, probably because I didn't anticipate anything till yesterday, was your Miami Dolphins.
Right. Adam Gase canned. The worst thing that he probably did was make the playoffs his first year because he's already an incredibly cocky son of a gun anyway, and that just made his arrogance level go way up. And it sounds like he did not get along with a lot of people in Miami. Players really did not like him. I mean, I don't know if you saw Jarvis Landry tweet out today a bunch of crying, laughing emojis.
Well, Jarvis better be careful. I think he could be reunited.
Yeah, that would be
hilarious.
Ironically hilarious if
I don't think that'd be a good hire by
Gase
Cleveland.
Well, see, I'm not really sure. I think Adam Gase will be a really good head coach someday, but he's going to have to learn how to kind of work himself into the job.
I loved him as a coordinator.
And it helps when you have the rookie that's thrown the most touchdowns ever as a rookie in Baker Mayfield. That helps a lot of things. But as for some of the players that were kind of happy he was gone, a guy tweeted, his name is, I have to go find it. I wonder if he deleted it already because he was kind of refuted. But he said that there were some prominent veterans that went to Ross and really voiced their displeasure in Adam Gase. Frank Gore, Kenny Stills, Cameron Wake, those are three of their leaders that really voiced their displeasure in Adam Gase, and I think that ultimately made Stephen Ross's job easy. Supposedly Ross and Gase did not have a good relationship at all. As I said, he was incredibly arrogant, and there was a report that Ross wanted to rescind. Yeah, Ross wanted to take away total control of the 53-man roster from Gase, and Gase wasn't having it. Pretty much told him to F off. So he's gone. Coordinators have to be absolutely wiped out, just start fresh because their defense gave up their most yards in their history this year, and they've been playing football since 1966. And they were only 5 points away from giving up the most points in a season ever in Miami, so they need to really fresh slates. They actually promoted their general manager to vice president of football operations, and Mike Tannenbaum, who was a big-time name in my tirades on Twitter that I'd go after. He has been reassigned in the organization for some godforsaken reason. Ross just won't fire him because they're buddies. But Chris Greer now has total control over the roster and control of the coaching search, and they needed that clarity because no one knew who they were reporting to. Adam Gase didn't report to the GM or the VP. He reported to the owner himself, Stephen Ross. There was no communication at all, and finally we have clarity. And from the sounds of what Ross was saying, he's tired of the 6-10, 7-9 bullshit. Is pretty much what he said in his press conference, which I don't know if you remember Jeff Fisher saying that on Hard Knocks, and he ends up getting canned. But it sounds like they could be pretty bad here the next 2 or 3 years, which I've been on board with a total tear down for like a decade now. And they need a few years of 3-13, 4-12. It's not going to be fun, but it sure would help in rebuilding their this franchise that was once a really proud franchise. I mean, they had the best winning percentage in the history of football. Obviously, they have the undefeated season, and they really need a quarterback going forward. Ryan Tannehill, his cap hit will be $27.1 million next year. He's gone. It'll likely, I see if they release him March 1st, they save $13 million. If they release him June 1st, it's $18 million. They might as well just release him March 1st so you can use that money right when free agency opens. They'll have a new quarterback. This quarterback class sucks. Next year's quarterback class is great with Jake Fromm and Tua Tagovailoa or whatever his name is.
Justin Herbert.
And Justin Herbert, yeah, he's coming back. That was big college football news over the weekend. But it could get ugly before it gets good. If it ever gets good again, it's hard telling.
And that class could have Dwayne Haskins, even though I'm anticipating him joining this class and being the first quarterback taken overall. But if he decides to come back to college, you can add his name into that 2020 class as well. But who are some of the rumored guys they're going to interview or talking to, and what candidate do you want? Or is there a clear-cut candidate that you want?
You know, it's kind of funny. Denver fired Vance Joseph today, and it seems like
yes, they did.
The three names that the Dolphins have put in to request for interviews are about the exact same as Denver has. Mike Munchak's one. The New England Patriot defensive coordinator is another one, which would
Rooney Rule,
which would help with the Rooney Rule. And supposedly, I mean, he's a young guy. He's only 36, 37. Supposedly, he's highly regarded.
What is his name?
Brian Flores.
Yep.
That's his name. And another guy, Chiefs offensive coordinator.
Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, I couldn't pronounce.
I don't want him at all.
Last name. I've also heard Dave Tobe or Tube, whatever his name.
Dave Tobe. I think he lands a job this time around. He's been close the last 2 years.
He's
a special
well
teams
respected.
coordinator for the Chiefs, but he's well respected. Was a coordinator, special teams coordinator for the Bears from like 04 through 12 when Hester had all those great years.
Right.
So,
and Vic Fangio's another name, the Bear defensive coordinator. I don't know because he's 60. It'd be hiring like a Bruce Arians who ends up retiring after 4 or 5 years.
Has there been any press conference today of what they're looking for? Because the Broncos had one with Joe Ellis and John Elway, and they kind of stated what they're looking for.
They didn't really state what they're looking for in a head coach. They want to get younger as a roster, which, as I said, it looks like they're going to do a complete rebuild because they have a lot of old, expensive pieces. But they didn't really say anything what they were looking for as a head coach. I don't know if they'll put out a feeler to like Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, see if he'd have any interest, or Matt Campbell at Iowa State. I mean, Iowa State was almost Kansas-like, and he turned them into a pretty good program.
It sounded like Lincoln, yesterday said he wants to stay at Oklahoma because he's hungrier than ever now.
Right.
They thought the one job that could spear him out of college still would be the Cowboys.
The Cowboys.
That's
right.
not coming open unless they lose like 40-0 this weekend.
Yeah. I'm not really sure. And as for a name I want, I'm just going to.
There's not that great
Right.
names out there.
Whoever they hire, I'm going to give a chance to, because, we don't really know. Because there have been names that have been, or there have been guys that have been hired as head coach, and everyone is ripping on the hire, and then they turn out to be really freaking good. There are people ripping on the Sean McVay hire because he's only 31 years old, and look what he's doing out in, I almost said St. Louis, out in Los Angeles. So I'm going to give the guy a chance. Now, a guy like Mike Munchak doesn't do anything for me, or Mike McCarthy. I don't want to retread. I want a new, fresh voice. Munchak in his career is 22 and 26. That's very Joe Philbin-like.
The reason he got fired was he's such a good character guy in Tennessee. They want him to fire his assistants, and he wouldn't do it. So they canned him. So
I'm okay with that because that just shows loyalty, and he's not gonna.
I don't know. He sticks out to me as a better one than some of these other guys, but he's not the sexy pick. But I don't think you're going to get a sexy overall hire. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The Broncos are requested to interview those exact same three guys you mentioned. I thought it was interesting. John Elway shot down two guys to the media. He said Mike Shanahan will not be in consideration. Either will Adam Gase. And neither of those surprised me because Joe Ellis and Mike Shanahan don't get along. Adam Gase and John Elway don't get along. And I think Adam Gase, when he onside kicked up 33-9, showed how much he hated John Elway. And he feels that John Elway led him on and cost him a chance to get the San Francisco job a couple of years ago when I think Chip Kelly got it. If not him, maybe it was the other fat guy the year before him. I don't know. The guy I've wanted since the middle of the season is John Harbaugh, but it sounds like the only way Baltimore would get rid of him is for one, if not two first-round picks. And
not worth it.
Denver's got the 10th overall pick next year's draft. They're not going to part ways with that.
If you were picking like 24th or 25th, absolutely. Yeah, but when you have a top 10, you really top 15.
And when you have more of holes to fill than just the head coaching spot, because this is going to be a tear-down rebuild too, I only see 3, maybe 4 defensive starters coming back out of total, and who knows about the offense. But I do think, even though they've mentioned needing to get newer on offense and everything, I think Gary Kubiak's going to be the offensive coordinator next year.
Be a good hire.
I think all signs, they don't want to lose him. He's been their director of scouting last year, and he acts like he wants to get back into that. So I think he's going to be their OC. So I could see them they want a guy with experience. So your guy with experience is probably going to be a defensive-minded coach, and then Gary's going to do his thing, OC. So
the good thing is, if you don't hire a guy with head coaching experience, you have Gary Kubiak right there. That would help. The problem is, does that blur the lines? Because, some of the players on there still
we're on that Super Bowl team. If there's problems, do you think Von Miller's going to go to the new guy or Gary Kubiak? Whereas if you hire this is just an example, Munchak or even a Chuck Pagano, they might go to him, which Chuck Pagano's one they've talked to. They haven't set up an interview with. I wouldn't be thrilled, but it wouldn't shock me.
Right.
Really. It's going to be interesting. Maybe they try to go into college links. I laughed at a report. Or I didn't laugh. I kind of read a report on CBS.com reported not only did they mention Lincoln Riley, but they mentioned Matt Campbell, Pat Fitzgerald, and Jeff Brom as guys who could get interviews by NFL teams. But they listed they didn't think any 3 of those guys would leave right now, maybe in the future.
What about Pat Fitzgerald to Green Bay?
I think they've tried to set up an interview. I don't know if they're going to or not. They've also been linked to wanting to interview Josh McDaniels, Jim Caldwell, Chuck Pagano. And that leads me to this question. We got these 7 openings. We've only really hit on the Broncos and the Dolphins, which I'm sure we'll be covering more in the next couple of weeks because at least from the Broncos one, I think it's going to last about a month. I could be wrong. I think this is going to be their most in-depth search since they got John Fox. Kubiak, they already kind of knew they were going to get him. They only had like 2 other interviews. One was the Machinery rule. And same thing with Vance Joseph. I think they already had their mind made up. But you got the Denver opening, the Miami opening, the Arizona opening, the New York Jets opening, the Cleveland Browns, the Green Bay Packers, and finally the Cincinnati Bengals.
Finally.
So
I think the Bengals just promote Hugh Jackson. That's kind of my thoughts on
watch out for Vance Joseph to Cincinnati.
Or Vance, yeah.
At least as a defensive coordinator.
Defensive back.
That wouldn't shock me. He's loved there for some reason. Which I could see actually Vance being a good head coach down the line.
He's a good defensive coordinator.
But if he's got to learn his game management a little better. Out of those all those jobs, avid listener of the podcast, Aaron Lynch, who had a birthday yesterday, so happy belated birthday,
Happy
Lynch.
B-Day, Lynch man.
He was also, him, Tiger, LeBron. They're all born on the same day, so three great athletes of all time. He wanted to know which job is the best for a candidate to go to and why.
Easy. The Cleveland Browns. Franchise quarterback, franchise defensive player in Myles Garrett. Really young on offense, have a good offensive line, have a really good defense. I think they're a team that could potentially make that leap and go like 12-4 next year and make the playoffs and win that division. Because, you look at the other teams, Pittsburgh's getting old. Missed the playoffs. Big Ben's 36 or so. Bengals, I don't think they'll be good for a while. Ravens, I still don't trust Lamar Jackson. That defense is great, but Lamar he runs too much. I think he'll get hurt.
Hard to stop right now.
Right. That's kind of bull crap that the Chargers have to go out there.
I know it.
Chargers went 12-4.
I thought about that last night, but the only way
they
to
have to play
restructure
the 1:00 Eastern game too.
Yeah, the only way to restructure that is redo the whole playoff system.
Which is what the NBA did.
Yeah.
But going back to the topic, I think it's the Cleveland Browns.
I do too. I think the number 2 job is the Green Bay Packers just because of Aaron Rodgers, but he's an aging Aaron Rodgers, and you saw yesterday what happens when they don't have Rodgers. They are garbage. They were awful yesterday. What do you think's the worst job?
In my opinion, it's the Miami Dolphins.
Really?
No one knows who's going to be the quarterback next year. They don't have one.
Well, I can kind of say the same about the Broncos. It looks like it's going to be Case Keenum, but that's not real exciting.
How much? You know what his guaranteed money is? Because he signed for 36, right?
Yeah,
over 2 years.
Yeah, I looked it up.
If it's 24, you save $12 million.
It's not that much.
20?
It might be 24. I don't know, but I would be shocked if he's not their quarterback next year. No. I think they draft one in the first or second round.
Dwayne Haskins could be right there. Does that really?
Yeah, he wouldn't be bad. Heck, second round. I like Daniel Jones out of Duke.
Daniel Jones is one of those guys that will be thought of as a second or third round pick right now and go in the top 5 come. He just seems like one of those kind of players, like Carson Wentz.
But all the teams ahead of Denver, unless they're trades, a lot of them don't need quarterbacks.
Giants are the only one that I think could take one. Bills don't need one. Cardinals don't need one. Raiders don't. Unless Raiders want to go in a different direction.
They're going to have to get Carr.
Watch for Derek Carr to possibly be a trade bait here in the offseason.
Heck, the Raiders going to be playing their games in London next year, it sounds like. Honest to God. What a joke.
That'd be classic.
What a joke. It looks like it's going to happen. What a joke. Yeah. But I was going to say the Cardinals are the worst job, even with Rosen. I thought Moose got
the shaft.
Shaft.
Absolutely.
Nobody was going to win. Vince Lombardi wouldn't have won with that roster.
No, that's a roster that goes 3-13 like they did. Rosen's a good guy to build around. That he needs to get some protection.
Cincinnati's pretty bad too, dude.
Yeah, they're saddled with that bad Andy Dalton contract. He's a bottom 12 quarterback in the NFL. That's a really bad job. Old defense.
It's going to be interesting. I don't even know to speculate on the other open jobs besides the Miami and Denver one of candidates. Or anything.
Tampa Bay. Jameis Winston looks like he's going to be back. I obviously don't have any clue what they could possibly be looking for.
I haven't even heard any names for Tampa Bay or Arizona yet.
Jameis Winston kind of seems like a coach killer. Good enough to get you fired, as Dan Dockett said.
And McCarthy has been linked to the Jets job and the Browns job.
I think that'd be a horrendously bad hire. His career was made because of Aaron Rodgers. And Brett Favre.
He only went to and won one Super Bowl. So,
could any other jobs open that have not been opened yet?
I don't think so, unless, like I said, the Cowboys get absolutely massacred.
Right. Is Bill Belichick back next year?
Yeah, I think so.
I agree, and it sounds like Tom Brady wants to come and play in 2019.
But I think some of the Patriots might lose some of their staff. I think some of them are looking to leave.
The Atlanta Falcons. Is Dan Quinn back? He's firing both of their defensive or both coordinators.
I think he is back because all the coordinators lost their jobs. I think.
Watch Steve Sarkisian become a head coach in the NFL.
Watch for Cliff Kingsbury possibly to be an offensive coordinator.
I've even heard him as potentially a head coach.
Yeah, that would be a big reach. That would be a bad decision.
Huge. That's a very Miami Dolphins thing to do. So. Offensive coordinator, though, I think he'd be a phenomenal offensive
I'm
coordinator.
confident that the Broncos aren't going in that direction for a head coach. I'd be shocked. The one head coach in college I thought they might look at is David Shaw, and I don't even know if that's going to happen.
Right.
So, it's going to be interesting, and we'll see.
Black
where the
Monday's
dominoes
always
fall.
fun,
Yep.
isn't it?
And we'll stick. We'll keep talking NFL, but I want your thoughts on this. Just when you think the college coaching carousel's done, it kind of ramped up over the weekend. Had a major Applewhite lose his job only after 2 seasons at Houston.
He did pretty good at Houston. Something was going on in the locker room.
And then, and who did they offered a contract to, and he turned them down?
Somebody offered Major Applewhite a contract
No,
or Houston?
Houston offered.
Was it Dana Holgerson?
It was Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh, really?
They turned him
He
down.
turned him
Now
down.
they're going after Holgerson.
Yeah, because Holgerson was a coach at Houston. He might even be a graduate.
Well,
at
and
Houston.
Holgerson in West Virginia were supposed to be working on a contract extension midway through the season, and nothing's come of it.
Right,
so.
and they said Houston's willing to give him the money.
Because it sounded like they offered Cliff quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
He turned them down. But Houston's also they have to pay Art Briles. No, Florida State's got to pay Houston $850,000 to get Art Briles to come over as their offense coordinator. Not Art, his son. Sorry, I forgot his son's name.
I forget what it is.
Yeah, but he's going to be Florida State's next offense coordinator, which I think's a mess. I don't know why they would want to do that.
And Mark Richt retired at the University of My Hurricane.
And Miami and Manny Diaz, after being Temple's coach for about 14 days, left.
Temple got a raw deal, but it sounds
They
like
got $4 million back.
Yeah, they got $4 million back, and they're okay with it because I mean they
That's
have
a
to
dream
understand.
job for
It's a
Manny.
dream job for Manny. Another guy was Mario Cristobal, Oregon's coach, was another guy mentioned because he's a Miami grad, grew up in Miami, but they had a $10 million buyout. Manny Diaz, that defense is still good. Their offense sucked.
Yeah.
And that's why they were not good this year.
Well, that's going to be the big key. Who does he get for offensive coordinator?
Yeah. I imagine most of the defensive staff will stay in place there.
What's interesting thing is they lost a lot of recruits around signing day. Miami did, and then Temple probably got some decent ones, and it's kind of a mess. But
hopefully for Temple's sake, they all signed.
yeah, we'll see. But back to NFL, week 17, the regular season's over. We'll get into our playoff predictions, but we gotta keep it going like we do every week. 2 winners, 2 losers.
2 winners. Well, I'm going to do 3 winners.
3.
The Colts, Eagles, and there was one other team that I was thinking about last night that who would it have been?
Ravens?
Colts, Eagles, Ravens. There you go. All had to win. I mean, the Eagles needed a lot more help than the other 2 did, but all had to win, and they did it. So congrats to them. 2 losers, though, obviously, the not Tennessee Titans because they did not have their quarterback.
I don't think it would have mattered.
I don't think
right.
it would have either. But Blaine Gabbert.
But
is
that
really
was
bad.
my dad was freaking out, saying, the Colts going to lose to Cody Kessler and Blaine Gabbert.
Right.
I said, well, if they lose to those 2, they don't deserve to make the playoffs.
Minnesota Vikings had a game at home against a team they were still playing for that number 2 seed, but
They played all their guys.
and they played all their guys, which I thought was
Cousins
kind of
is
stupid.
awful. Cousins so overrated.
Cousins might be the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. I mean, he's obviously overpaid. He is now, I think, 4-25 against teams over 500, maybe 5-26 now. But he's bad. They needed to win it, and they needed the Eagles to lose, and neither of those happened. So the Eagles are in, defending Super Bowl champs. Watch out for them giving Bears the game.
Yeah,
next
if I'm the
week,
Bear
man.
fan, I'm a little nervous about that game.
If I was the Bears, I would have rested my starters and let Minnesota win that thing.
Because you got the one team. Well, actually, both those teams, Minnesota and Philly, can play in the cold.
Yeah.
But you got the team that's hot. Nick Foles, man, something about that Philly magic.
I know it is
Something
weird.
about
Can't
them.
play anywhere else.
Something about that Philly magic. And they'll be he could be the Dolphins' next quarterback.
Could be.
I don't know.
Now,
how Philly-
I wouldn't give him $50 million.
No,
If it's like one guy that was mentioned was Teddy Bridgewater, and then he went and played so
It was awful.
bad
Yeah. He was kind of a
yesterday.
trial yesterday for him.
and it didn't go well. But
Really?
I think some team will still give him the money.
Really, on top of my head, free agent quarterbacks that I know are available, you have Foles and Flacco. Kind
Right.
of the main 2, and you got Bortles.
Isn't Bridgewater a free agent
Bridgewater
as well?
Yeah.
Watch for Flacco in Miami, just as a stopgap, maybe. The problem is he's good enough to lead him to go 6-10, 7-9 again.
Right,
They'll
where
be
you're
stuck
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, you kind of took my winners.
I think the Vikings are really the only loser, aren't they?
Yeah, I'll throw out some other ones.
Titans are kind of a loser.
I'll throw out some other ones just for the heck of it, just not that matter. But I'll take the Giants as a loser. You have the Cowboys down, and it's 4th and 15, and
that was a heck of a catch.
It was a heck of a catch. Then you let them get the 2-point conversion. I mean, Giants are losers.
Just for fun, the Giants are always losers. They're a loser for saying Eli is going to be their quarterback next year.
Yeah, Pat Shurmur. I don't know what's going on there. No, I don't really. Yeah, you kind of took all my winners and the main losers, so I don't.
Because nothing really was overly huge yesterday besides the Colts game and the Vikings-Eagles games. And of course the Ravens needed to win, and they did.
Steelers came back and beat the Bengals.
Yep. If they would have lost, they would have been a loser.
The 1 o'clock games were the worst 1 o'clock games I've ever seen in my life.
Was it bad, man.
It was terrible.
It was terrible. Did you hear the report on Antonio Brown?
Yes.
The reason he didn't play is because he got in some fight or argument with some
teammate.
Was it a teammate or was it coaching staff? His teammate. And that's why the reason he didn't play. I mean, a huge game. I mean, he's a great player, and I didn't think he'd do something like that either. He seemed like a guy that wanted to go win. Not that it really mattered because the Ravens won, but he needs to shape up a little bit.
Look, I mean, they had Le'Veon Bell sit out this whole year. It's just kind of Steelers culture, man.
Could Mike Tomlin be in trouble heading into maybe not getting fired this year, but heading into next year?
If he misses the playoffs next year, watch out.
I mean, he's been there over a decade,
time,
maybe even just 10 years.
Yeah, it might just be time for a new look if he misses the playoffs next year.
He's the second longest tenured now, isn't he, behind Bill? Because now that Marvin's gone.
I would think he's got to be.
And McCarthy's gone.
Harbaugh's been in Baltimore a while.
Yeah, but
not as long as Tomlin,
I don't think he's been there as long as
McCarthy probably would have. But McCarthy has the most wins, I think, in the last decade besides Bill.
Yeah, they've won a lot.
So, but let's predict some playoff games. It's always fun to predict playoff games. Our Super Bowl predictions from start of year still intact. There are possibilities.
Mine was Rams and Patriots.
Mine was Rams and Texans. So they are still intact. I'm not feeling the greatest about mine, but better than last year's. Way better for you than last year.
Yeah, I think I picked the Giants.
You did. We start off on Saturday with the Colts at Texans. Texans are 2-point favorites.
2-point favorite? That's a tough one.
Colts won at Houston a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Indy won there a few weeks ago, and that was the main reason they ended up getting in.
Colts are the third team in NFL history to start 1-5 and make the playoffs. 1980 Bengals and 2015 Chiefs.
I know the Dolphins started 0-3 2 years ago, which is pretty
when
bad.
These two teams met in week 4, or was it week 5? Week 5, both were 1-3.
Yeah, now they're
and when they could should have tied.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Give me the Texans just because they're at home. Last second field goal.
I think the Colts are better right now, playing better, but I'm taking the Texans just because I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. So until they're out, I'm picking them.
Texans aren't playing bad.
They're not.
I mean, they've lost a few games.
Deshaun Watson took 63 sacks this year. It's the most of any
Lord.
Quarterback to make the playoffs. He holds the ball forever.
63.
I was watching that game yesterday. He holds the ball forever. This game
wouldn't surprise me if the Colts won. No.
Seattle at Dallas. Dallas is a 2.5-point favorite.
Give me Seattle. Russell Wilson's had the best season of his career. I think they're playing really good football as of late, especially beating Kansas City 2 weeks ago. Don't trust Dallas. I mean, Zeke will obviously play. I think Seattle's defense will get it done, and Russell will get it done as well. I think they go on the road and win.
I like the Cowboys at home. I don't know why. I think these teams are very evenly matched. I just like the Cowboys at home.
They're very similar.
That's one place they can win playoff games. They can't win them on the road. I like the Cowboys. Sunday's games, you got Chargers at Baltimore. Baltimore's 2.5-point favorites.
I think Chargers go in there and get her done. They need to, man. I've been picking the Chargers to win a Super Bowl for the past 10 years, and they haven't done it. But
this might be Phillips' last chance.
It's Phillips' last chance. I think they'll go in there. I mean, they lost at home to Baltimore two weeks ago. I think they get their revenge, although it is tough for a West Coast team to go in there on 1 o'clock Eastern. I think it's a 1 o'clock game Sunday.
It's a 1:05, yep.
1:05 Eastern time Sunday on the East Coast. Going to be tough, but I think Chargers are the most complete team in the AFC.
You know, I like the Ravens, and I'm not saying that just because I hate the Chargers. Chargers offense all of a sudden the last 2 weeks. Yesterday against a Broncos defense that's down to nothing depth-wise. They were awful. I mean, Phillip looked terrible. But, of course, the Broncos offense might have been the worst in the NFL in Week 17. So I like the Ravens for some reason. I mean, Ravens defense is really good. It's right up there with the Bears for the best in the league. Lamar, so far, nobody can figure out this college-style running offense, at least slow it down. I like the Ravens there, and defense travels, even though it doesn't need to go home. Speaking of defense travels, you got the Eagles at Chicago. Chicago's a 5.5-point favorite.
Some respect.
How much do you like St. Nicholas Foles?
Man, I came in here fully expecting to want to pick. I want to pick the Eagles because I've really started to dislike the Bears. But I think the Bears get it done at home. Wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles go in there and win. And the Bears fan base, who for some godforsaken reason thinks they're the greatest team ever here. They're a really good football team. Don't get me wrong, but they've sucked for like 5 years. Now they have one good year, and you'd think.
Bears fans need to pump the brakes a little bit because they are a year, at least maybe 2 years ahead of schedule.
I could see them being this year's Jacksonville next year, going like 5-11.
Well, the Bears did this in like 02 or 03, came out nowhere, had a good year, and then went back to terrible.
They do have a better quarterback than Blake Bortles, better head coach, and Nagy.
They got a lot of young defensive pieces.
I
agree with you. I think the Bears win a close game, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Eagles.
It'll come down to the final minute.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. And if the Eagles win, watch out. They might be on no run. Then we can get into discussion. Is Carson Wentz really the franchise guy for the Eagles, or is it Nick Foles?
Yeah.
So
how old is Foles? Yeah, he's got to be 31, isn't he?
I think he's right at 30 or 31.
Wentz just turned 26.
Well, I will Google it. I got the Google machine.
Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, or maybe the day after. It was just turned it. I can't imagine
He's 29. He will turn 30 on January 20th.
Okay, so he'll be 30 next year. I thought he was older.
Yeah. I guess he could be a franchise guy for 5 or 6 years.
Do you remember how bad he was those first few weeks?
And he was really bad as a Ram and then back up as a Chief. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just that Philly magic for some reason. But
and he really wasn't great yesterday. Sudfeld came in and played pretty well.
Well, he got some bruised ribs, but he will play.
He'll get hit a lot by that defensive line.
That's a good point. So
I don't think the Eagles go in there and win.
Yeah, I don't either, but I think it's a close one. It wouldn't shock me to see them. So sticking with football, let's talk a little bowl games. Mm-hmm. You've probably been watching a lot of the bowls.
I've been watching a ton of the bowls.
Any of the bowls stick out to you?
There was a good game the other night. Baylor-Vandy was a good one.
That was a good one.
Iowa State-Washington State was a good one.
That was a good one.
Washington State won by 2. I didn't watch much of the playoffs because both were kind of blowouts.
Oklahoma hung in there a little bit after they got behind 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, they came back and made it respectable.
Kyler Murray's the real deal. I think he's going to make the right choice and play baseball instead.
They say he's close to 5'8". That's not going to fly in the NFL.
But man, he is good.
He's good. He is good.
But yeah.
I watched the Purdue game, pretty much all of it.
I was there, dude. You were there. Okay, you remember a few weeks ago when we were asked what the worst live sporting event we've been to is? That one surpassed it. Even though I had the best seats I've ever had at a football game, maybe the best I've had at a sporting event. I don't know. It's the Pacers Nuggets courtside at one time was hard to beat. But this was, Evan Webb and I were 4 rows behind Purdue's bench at the 40-yard line. We could hear the players talking and everything. And to see the talent differential in this SEC speed
massive
was amazing. Yeah. Seeing that person. 81 Slater, I think his name. 3 catches for 3 touchdowns.
For like 190 yards.
Stupid fast. Antonio Blackman and Tim Kaysen had no chance. Looking back on the game, of course, Auburn scores right away on the 3rd play, and then Purdue goes 3 and out. But I still think if Tim Kaysen would have dropped a pick right in his hands, Purdue still loses, but it's a lot closer than the 60.
It was probably a pick 6, wouldn't it have been? Or close to it?
It would have been a lot closer than the 63-14 final score. I think Purdue would have kept it within a couple touchdowns, but the talent differential, I wasn't ready for that.
You really saw why a lot of people were picking them to go to the playoffs.
Oh,
this
yeah.
year.
You talk about
loaded.
Underachieving 7-5 team against a really overachieving 6-6 team since Purdue started 0-3. Does this kill Purdue's momentum? I don't think so. I mean, it wasn't the way you want to end your season, but maybe it gives some of these guys coming back next year motivation to get better. Purdue's got their best recruiting class they've had in the last 10 years coming in.
I don't think bowl games do anything for motivation.
I think it can help you gain some momentum, but I don't think you lose any. I just felt bad for the seniors, especially David Blau, who had a pretty good year, and he was just awful the other day. And But really, Purdue had two guys who deserved to be on the field with Auburn. That was Rondell Moore on offense and Marcus Bailey on defense. Those guys will be back next year, and I'm excited about Purdue football next year. I think they got a challenging schedule on the road, a pretty good one at home they should take care of. And, looking at next year, it's no more of the 6-6 stuff, especially Brom's new contract, which hasn't been revealed to the public yet, but expectations are raising. I mean, you're looking at 7 to 8 wins minimum next year should be the expectation. Yes, they'll be really young again on defense, but if this recruiting class is hyped up as it should be, they should a lot of them should have impact from day one. So I'm already looking forward to the August 31st trip to Nevada for Purdue's Week 1 game, but I'll let all the other sports come first.
I have nothing.
Notre Dame, Clemson,
Notre
any
Dame,
comments? I mean, we kind of hit on it earlier.
I can't believe there were actual humans that thought Notre Dame wouldn't just get shellacked by Clemson. I mean, we were saying all year how they weren't even in the same league as Alabama and Clemson. That proved to be true.
Well, and Notre Dame is not making the playoff next year with their schedule. You want to hear their schedule?
Let's hear it. Honestly, they probably shouldn't have made it this year with their schedule because, a lot of teams on there that look like good matchups.
Next year's road schedule looks hard.
Really?
They start off on a Monday night, September 2nd, so that's Labor Day, at Louisville, down at Cardinal Stadium.
2-10 this year.
Yeah, new coach coming in. I mean, it's still not going to be an easy game, I wouldn't think. Then they got New Mexico at home. That should be an easy one. But then they go between the hedges week 3 at Georgia.
Yeah. Georgia won at Notre Dame last year.
Yes. Then they have Virginia at home, who won a bowl game. Then Bowling Green at home. Then USC at home. Then they have a bye week. Then they're at Michigan. Then they have Virginia Tech at home. Then they're at Duke. And get this, ACC Network.
I saw it was
It's
ACC
not
Network.
ESPN, not ABC. It's ACC
I bet ESPN
Network.
is pissed.
I mean, that's the first time I ever remember Notre Dame not being on.
Playing on a, yeah.
Then they have Navy at home. Then Boston College at home. Then at Stanford. So
That's a tough schedule.
not as easy as, even though this year's didn't look easy on paper as well.
Speaking of Michigan, they just got whooped by Florida.
That made me smile.
They
did have 3 or 4 guys sitting out.
Yeah, Shea Patterson looked bad.
SEC again.
Right.
Speed.
I picked Michigan to win. And I put a lot of confidence points in our bowl.
Everybody did, except 2 guys picked Florida.
Really? I'm surprised you didn't pick Florida.
I thought Michigan would win.
Yeah, so did I. But I mean, what does Harbaugh do now?
He's overrated.
He's so overrated. I think this is the best team he's had, and they still got just
his division
whooped,
next year.
man.
He's done.
I think he'll be fired.
You got a Ohio State team who's got to be in transition with a new coach. Dwayne Haskins probably isn't back.
He's definitely not.
You got
back.
Penn State losing a
McSorley
once in a decade quarterback
yeah.
for them. Michigan State can't score.
No, they started Lewerke today over Lombardi.
Idiots. You got Rutgers, who's Rutgers. You got Maryland, who will be better, but not yet. Then you got Indiana, who did their horrible office coordinator did retire, but I still don't see them making that jump.
No.
So if Michigan doesn't win it next year, when are they going to win it?
That got me thinking maybe Jimmy wants to make the jump back to the NFL this year, knowing that.
I haven't heard his name, though.
No, I haven't
but
either. But maybe he's kind of looking
I know
because he knows.
This is
maybe
usually
it's
when he
gonna be
jumps.
tougher than he thinks.
Fourth
Yeah.
year is usually when he
Yeah,
jumps.
it's usually when he's like, this is getting too hard. Let
Yeah.
me try something else.
I just don't like that guy at all. And speaking of the Big Ten, we mentioned the East. I think the West is getting better.
Oh, West is getting a lot
I think the West is on
better.
the rise. Jay Lehman said he thought every team in the West has a chance to win it next year, except Illinois. He said still just barely a step behind, but they're coming.
I think Illinois wins 7 games next year. Looking at their schedule, they're going to get better.
Yeah, I think
'cause they have their talent.
I
is
mean,
pretty good.
Brahms got a good recruiting class coming. Pat Fitzgerald just won the West. Kirk Ferentz is always solid. Paul Chris is solid. PJ Fleck.
Nebraska, man.
PJ Fleck ended it. Nebraska's definitely coming.
Yeah.
And with Frost and their young quarterback Martinez,
Mm-hmm.
and PJ Fleck just finished the season on a hot streak.
Yeah.
So for Minnesota,
Yeah, they're
the
coming.
West all of a sudden. I mean, is it going to be parallel to the East? No, but it's not going to be as bad as it has been.
No, it's going to be a lot more competitive. And another guy we didn't mention for Northwestern, they get former top 10 overall recruit Hunter Johnson coming in to play quarterback for them
so
next year.
it's going to be exciting. Big Ten's going to be fun to watch next year. That's for sure. But yeah, prediction for the championship game. Well, I guess that is next Monday. We'll save it for next Monday.
I have a pretty good idea. On that pick.
But we already, my dad and I went through all the bowls last week. He went through the Big Ten bowls 2 weeks ago. So I don't think we need to do any more predictions.
Did they say anything about Dexter Lawrence possibly being back for the national championship?
I haven't heard, but I haven't been paying attention today. So I don't know. That's a interesting They don't need him. I mean, they could use
it
him.
would help, but yeah.
But yeah, these two teams are on another level. It's amazing what Dabo's done in 10 years at Clemson.
Yep.
It really is. But we were talking Big Ten. Big Ten basketball starts this week. It's kind of hard to believe.
Yeah. It's scary.
It is nerve-wracking. Purdue,
not that it matters for me.
Purdue hosts number 25 Iowa on Thursday. Iowa dropped a spot. Purdue coming off a pretty good win over the weekend over a good Belmont team. Best defense Purdue's played all year. Don't know where that came from. Got some bench help. Hopefully that continues because they need this Iowa one because next week they go at Michigan State, at Wisconsin.
Big game this weekend. Indiana plays at Michigan, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it this weekend? And you know what? This will be the J-Man's Booker prediction of the week.
Dano, hold it a minute. I want to book this one.
J-Man kind of forgot about his Booker prediction until this moment. Give me Michigan, number 2 overall team in the country. They play really well at home. I think Indiana keeps it close, but kind of like the Duke game, I think Michigan has more talent. I think they just kind of pull away late and win by something around 15 or so.
And that is the J-Man's Book It Prediction Week, sponsored by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Watring. Here's a little blurb from Travis himself.
Watring with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. I'm a multi-line agent specializing in life, home, renters, auto, business insurance, workers' compensation, and farm insurance. Please contact me at travis.watring@infb.com or 219-869-4561. And my business Twitter is @TTW_IFBI.
Yeah, Michigan's kind of head over all the rest of the conference. Are kind of cream of the crop. Then I'd say it's Michigan State, and then it's kind of you can kind of argue from then on who's
Wisconsin coming off a loss at Western Kentucky. That's a tough.
Yeah, I don't know why they scheduled that
right.
game. It was a weird weekend in college basketball. You had Princeton beat Arizona State. Arizona State coming off a win against Kansas. You had who went out and kicked the crap out of San Diego State? Some small college.
I don't know.
Brown. Brown
yeah.
went out there. Then you have UCLA lose at home to Liberty. Then Steve Alford today canned. $6 million buyout paid.
Not bad there.
I've heard some names for UCLA being thrown out there. Fred Hoiberg's a name.
Interesting.
Jamie Dixon's a name.
TCU's Jamie Dixon's alma mater. He left Pitt for TCU. Pitt's a better job than TCU.
You got to fit the Hollywood mold.
They don't give a crap about college sports out there, man.
Would Collins fit the mold from Northwestern?
Maybe. Interesting. I hope so. That got me.
I'm just trying to think of former Duke guys that maybe could go. Oh, I did hear Mike Bray could potentially be a candidate.
That's weird because he's well known in the East Coast, not so much on the West Coast.
I'm just taking what I've read off Twitter today.
Interesting.
So we'll see. UCLA is one of those jobs that's a huge pressure job for some reason. I mean, they don't, but their fans don't show up.
Fans don't
but yet,
care.
Look at Holland. He went to 3 Final Fours and they canned him.
I mean, their roster's loaded with top 100 guys, and now they're sitting at 7-6, coming off 4 straight losses to, Liberty, Belmont.
Well, it was time for Steve to go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he was very average at Iowa. Could recruit. New Mexico, I thought he did a pretty good job.
He did a good job at Iowa because Iowa's not this great job. He did an okay job.
Yeah, they were ready to put his head on a platter at the end, though.
I know
they had billboards ready to fire him. And then New Mexico, he did a really good job, but that was New Mexico. And then UCLA, I don't know if Steve gets another big job.
He might.
At least for a long time.
Yeah.
I wonder what happens to RHS graduate quarterback net.
Yeah, I wonder if he stays on.
I bet he stays on for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
his video coordinator.
The guy who could potentially be their interim could be Ed Schilling.
They didn't name him as intern. They already named their intern.
Oh, they did? I didn't hear that. Of course, Ed's a good friend of Alford and Mike Barnett.
It wasn't him. I will look that up. But I know you don't really want to talk about what happened to Illinois the other day, dude.
I watched it online. They're just a bad basketball team.
Still young, but
they're extremely young, but they're under-talented. They're small.
What, they starting at 3 3-star, 3 4s, and a 5? Did I read that correctly this year? No.
What was it?
A 3-star, 3 4s, and a 5 in their starting lineup.
Yeah.
Something like
that. And really, Aaron Jordan was a 4-star, but he hasn't averaged more than 7 points a game in his career. Georgie was a 3. Frazier was it'd be 2 3s, 2 4s and a 5. Is that what he said? Sorry.
Yeah.
Kipper Nichols was a 3. He's maddeningly inconsistent, and I'm ready for him to be gone.
Steve Alford was at UCLA for 6 years.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound that long.
Year.
It doesn't seem that long. Wow.
But you look at the guys they've had to play. Trent Frazier and Io DeSumo could start on most Big Ten teams because they're really good. But then Aaron Jordan would likely be the 8th or 9th man on a lot of teams. Kipper Nichols has battled inconsistency for the 3 years he's been there. Georgie Bichon-Chivili probably red shirts on 6 or 7 of the Big Ten teams. And then on the bench, I mean, you got DeMonte Williams who can't shoot, can't score. And then some more freshmen that just have been meh. So it could be a while before they get her going. That's still inexcusable loss at home. They shot the ball so bad in the first half. Scored 26 points against Florida Atlantic, who's without 2 starters, including their best players, averaging 19 and 10 this year. So that's a bad loss. But at this point, I've stopped caring about wins and losses because they're so bad and it doesn't really matter. Obviously, I want them to win. But if they lose, whatever.
I cannot find who the interim coach at UCLA is going to be. I saw it on Twitter somewhere, on Twitter even, and I can't find it now. But
Illinois starts off.
You see what Dan Dockett said? UCLA needs to hire Rick Pitino and get back to its roots.
It'd be interesting.
How about Slick Rick's son?
Ooh. I don't know if he'd do well at a non-Minnesota.
Fred Hoiberg sounds like he's the front runner, though.
I was going to say, it sounds like he'd be a match made in heaven. Murray Bartow takes over as UCLA interim.
Good find.
All I did was Google interim coach UCLA.
Of course you did. I didn't. I just Googled.
Murray Bartow, I believe, was East Tennessee State's coach when Bruce Grimm was there. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
And his father was Illinois' head coach in the 70s, Gene Bartow.
You want to hit us up with some birdie bogey?
Yes, sir. Saquon Barkley became the 3rd rookie ever to have 2,000 yards from scrimmage during his rookie season. Who are the other 2? Both running backs. I'll give it to you.
Are they both currently in the league?
No.
No. Oh,
both
man.
really good running back. One's a Hall of Famer and one's a close to Hall of Famer, but might not get in.
Barry Sanders?
No.
Gale Sayers?
No.
I don't know.
Eric Dickerson?
Oh, okay.
Edgerrin James.
I wouldn't have guessed either one,
to
be honest. Both Colts?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Was Dickerson a Colt as a rookie, or was he a Ram then?
I think he's a Ram first.
Yeah, because the picture they put up was him in a Ram.
I think he was a Ram first. Then Edge was
but
Colt. Then Cardinal.
Dickerson ended up in Indy.
I wouldn't have guessed either one of those. That's a hard bogey for me to end 2018. But before we sign off here for the last podcast of 2018, I want a bold sports prediction from the J-Man. We did have
J-Man.
We did have 2 here that came into our Twitter account, both from Reds fans.
You told me to think about it at the beginning of the show, and then I forgot. You told me to think about it, so now I'm sitting here.
Both from Reds fans, but only one about the Reds. Andrew Eiler says the Reds will win more than 70 games for the first time since 2014. That's sad.
That's fair.
John Mars, a big Reds fan, Purdue fan, and a Bronco fan, he said Patriots will win the Super Bowl even though they aren't really that good.
That is bold. You want to go first?
Yeah, I got one. It's a topic we never talk about, NBA. Somebody besides the Golden State Warriors will win the NBA championship.
That's a good one. I wish I would have thought of that.
I'm pretty confident in that one this year.
A team. Oh man, I'm gonna put myself.
I gave them a whole hour.
I know. I was wanting to say a team that got a first round bye.
Can I make one more?
Yeah, sure.
Ricky Fowler will win a major in 2019.
That's like the boldest thing anyone's ever said. Man, wish you wouldn't have put me on the spot. I don't want to have to be Cubs related. Illinois football will make a bowl next year.
He said 7 games earlier. So.
6 or 7.
All right. I like it.
I mean, they were fairly close this year, and they just sucked complete everything.
Yeah. All right, J-Man, but that wraps up another year of doing the Tan and J-Man show, but we'll be back in 2019. Thank you, everybody that listened to our episodes in 2018. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Tan and J-Man Show, follow us on Instagram at The Tan and J-Man Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are up to date. All our episodes are on there from like episode 71 through last week. So they're up there. You can listen to them there as well. You can always listen to our podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, and Google Play. Check out our website, thetannandjmanshow.com. And I hope everyone has a great and safe New Year's. And we'll see you next week for episode 112 of the Tan and J Man Show. Happy 2019, everybody.